Hey there, welcome back to the Breath Prayer Pilates Challenge, Day 2. Before we start into Day 2, I'm just going to remind you that if you wanted to be doing your homework in the workbook or commenting it into the Facebook group, our homework from yesterday was to take a look realistically at where our goals are physically and spiritually and what is actually happening and kind of see how far apart they were. If you're following along in the digital hub, you can actually pick a little radio button and rate it from 1 to 7, I think. And or just journal or just think about it. And if it's not as close to your ideal as you want, we're supposed to think about why that is and recognize that it could be a season of life, and we could temporarily need to adjust our goals and know that seasons change, and as things change, we can then readjust and reevaluate. So, all right, Day 2. Day 2 topic is alive, but are you really breathing? And before I get totally into Day 2, find a place to sit comfortably. I'm going to read our scripture for the week, Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, although today's version I'm reading is from the Message, so I'm going to actually backtrack to verse 5 because it just gives me the chunk there. So find a comfortable place. You can close your eyes and softly breathe or practice your belly breath from yesterday. At the time God made earth and heaven, before any grasses or shrubs had sprouted from the ground, God hadn't yet sent rain on the earth, nor was there anyone around to work the ground. The whole earth was watered by underground springs. God formed man out of the dirt from the ground and blew into his nostrils the breath of life. The man came alive, a living soul. So we'll think about that as we move through our Pilates today. Again, that as we breathe in our nostrils, maybe imagine that you're coming alive in God, in Jesus Christ. And we can take steps towards being more of a living soul if we've been feeling kind of dead or shell or what's the words? Not alive in our life right now. So, all right, let's see. Oh, today's Pilates is, we're going to learn the famous exercise, the Pilates 100s. And there are a lot of different ways to modify this. So we're going to go through all the different modifications, and then depending on your body and what you know, if you're brand new or postpartum or running marathons, you're going to pick the version that works best for you. Now, I didn't mention to have the little towel to roll up behind your head, but if you want to have a little towel or a pillow as an option, because we're going to do things with our head up versus down, you could also put it on a pillow. So, all right, we are going to, let me talk about the breath. Excuse me. No, actually, we'll go through all the modifications first. Hey, teaching live. Okay, so rolling down onto our back, Pilates hundreds. Let's talk about leg positions. Here we are, easy position number 1. Knees bent, a fist width apart with your knees, soles of the feet on the ground. And we can do the Pilates 100s here. The 100s involve some vigorous pumping with our arms. And, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to edit this video. We can do that with the legs down. The other option is with the legs down, with the head down. We can roll the head up. I'm going to have to edit this video. Okay. Starting on the mat with our knees bent and our about a fist width apart. This is your beginner position for your Pilates 100s, okay? For the 100s, we're going to be pumping our arms nice and vigorously, nice and strong. We want to feel the back muscles here under the scapula engaging. You want to feel strong. You want to feel pulling down towards your feet. So, option 1. Option 2, we can add the head and chest lift. Remember that cervical nod we did yesterday? We'll do it again. We have this little lift up here. Or you can put your head on a pillow. Now, as you start to get stronger, we're going to progress. We can do either one leg at a time lifted, with or without the head, switching halfway, or we're going to take both legs to tabletop. Pump the arms, leave the head down, leave the head up. A good stepping stone is to have the head up for a while, and then when you start to feel your neck kind of get stressed out, lower down. That just means your abdominals are not strong enough to hold. Actually, when they get strong, they actually hold the weight of your head up, and your neck doesn't get tired anymore. Now, a fun version here with the head up or down, I'm going to put it down while I talk to you, is doing these reverse knee folds or toe taps while you're doing the hundreds. So we can do down and up, down. Yeah, a little bit coordinated, but that's a fun stepping stone option too. Now, eventually you're going to get to where you stretch your legs, and we want to put heels together, toes apart in a small Pilates V. Straight above your hips, and then again, as your tummy gets stronger, you're going to take them down. Again, we can work with the head up for a while, bring it down, and then eventually you're going to be down on a nice diagonal, as long as we can stay in neutral spine, not stretch out our neck here. Now, one other option I'll tell you, which is fun and actually helpful for gaining strength in the legs. Heels together here in Pilates V, legs on the mat. You're going to squeeze your heels together and push them down into the floor, and then lift up your head and shoulders and do the Pilates 100s here. And you should feel a lot of energy in the lower body. That's a really nice one to do when you've gotten as far as you can go here without losing your lower back, but you want to try to gain a little bit more feeling for that long length in the Pilates 100s. Okay, so we talked about all the different positions. I don't even know how many that was. A lot of different modifications there. Breath. The hundreds have probably the most specific breath of a Pilates exercise. We're going to be sniff breathing in through our nose 5 times, and then a little exhale through your mouth 5 times. Now, if the sniffing is like awkward or makes you feel like lightheaded or strange, you don't have to sniff. You can smoothly breathe in through the nose 5 counts, and then exhale for 5 counts. And guess what? Is counting your arms are pumping the counts. So you're breathing in and then breathing out. All right? So that 5 count in, 5 count out breath is actually called coherent breathing. All right? I've been studying a lot about breath and breath patterns, breath work, and 5 in, 5 out is actually called coherent breath. I don't know if Mr. Pilates, who invented the Pilates method, I don't know if Joseph Pilates knew that and then used it on purpose, or if that's just a happy accident. But the purpose of coherent breath is actually to promote, let's see if I can get this word right, synchronicity, okay, being in sync between our heart pumping and our breath, our lungs. So we're going to get those two body functions in sync by breathing in and out for these 5 counts evenly. All right. It also helps to enlarge the oxygen capacity of our lungs by doing this coherent breath. So we're going to circle back to coherent breath a little bit more at the very end of class, but I wanted you to know that as we go through the hundreds. So, all right, we're going to tack the hundreds on to the end of the little Pilates stuff we did yesterday. But before we do, we're going to try a couple of sets with a couple different breathing patterns, because breath, the fun body function that we don't have to think about, it just happens. But also, if we don't think about it, it may not be happening as well for us as it should and could impact our lives, right? So we're going to do the hundreds. I'm just going to do the baby number 1 version here. And we're going to do 3 sets. And we're going to try the breath in through the nose for 5 and out through the mouth for 5. 3 times in a row, okay? You may leave your head down if you're not used to the hundreds. If you're taking your head up, you're going to inhale to prepare. exhale to bring up your head, chest, and shoulders. And here we go. Breathing in, breathing out. In, out. One more. And out. Now rest. Okay. Now we're going to reverse the breath pattern and see if that feels easier, harder, the same, or what have you. So, as we prepare, oh my goodness, apparently I have allergies while we're laying down. Excuse me. So as we prepare, we're going to actually I'm going to have to inhale for nothing and then exhale to prepare, inhale, and then we'll exhale for our first set of 5 and then inhale. This is not the way I normally do it, so let's see if we can do it. So take our arms overhead. If you're bringing up the head and chest, you're going to exhale to bring them up. Breath in for nothing. And now we'll start with our exhale. 4, 5, inhale. Exhale. In. One more. In. Lower down. Now I'm curious if you noticed a difference between the two. I have taught the first method for years. So for me, the second way feels kind of awkward and not in sync and disjointed. But now, just to make a point, we're going to try a third way of doing this, okay? And just follow along with me as we go. We're going to bring our arms overhead. We're going to exhale to roll up. And now you're just going to hold your breath for the sets. Well, I can't not breathe and move. Try to hold your breath. My muscle memory wants to breathe so bad. Actually, that's as far as I got. 2.5 sets. I couldn't hold my breath for all 3. All right. So, what's the point of that? I did not want to make you faint, but point being, it's super important for us to breathe, right? And especially as we're moving and physically moving in a fitness class, it's important to breathe, but also can you relate that to in our spiritual life as we're moving through life? It's important to breathe. How do you breathe spiritually? Maybe, do you feel like you're breathing spiritually? What does that mean to you? What helps your spirit feel? Oh, you got a breath of fresh air. You can relax. You feel refreshed. You can make it through something stressful because, you're breathing in the spirit realm, not just. So anyway, we're relating that spirit breath to if we're not breathing spiritually, how are we going to get through the movements of life? All right, let's get on to our little Pilates mat work. Okay, I have it on my notes over here. So we're actually going to do the cervical nod and the nose circles we did seated yesterday, or whenever you did day 1. We're going to do them laying down now. So let's take a comfortable spot, adjust your ponytail if you have one in the way. My knees are going to be bent, sit one distance apart. I'm just going to let my hands rest on my belly today. And we're going to nod. We're going to nod our chin down. And then we're going to nod the chin up. This is the cervical nod, that tip top of your vertebra of your spine. We're using our inhale as we lift the chin up. And we're using our exhale as it comes down. And maybe you notice, is it more relaxing when the weight of your head is resting? Or do you feel a little more constricted without being able to sit and move our head all around as much? Now we're going to go into nose circles. Top of my nose, tip of my nose, top, tip. You're going to draw a sparkler. Well, a circle. Okay, you're drawing a circle with a sparkler or a pencil or a marker in your imagination, whatever it is, and then reverse. So the point of this is to relax. We tend to hold a lot of tension in our neck anyway, and then when you start working on your abdominals, lifting your head, it can get really tense. So anytime you're going through Pilates movements and you have your head lifted and it's like, drop it down and take a few nose circles, right, to relax that out, all right? Okay, so from there, angel arms. Now we'll take our arms by our side. We're going to reach those fingertips, slide them on the floor or your mat towards your ankles, and then we're going to lift them up, up, up. Remember, we're not going all the way to the floor because probably that's going to pop open our ribs. We want to stay zipped together in the front. So I'm going to go about this far, turn my palms away from my body, pull down. 3 more times. Inhale. Turn away and exhale. Breathe in. And out. Last time. I'm going to feel those shoulder blades moving but feeling connected to our spine. All right, from angel arms, we'll go into knee sways. Open our arms to the side. Letting the knees just kind of windshield wiper back and forth. Again, this is relaxing the lower back. Now, sometimes we may do this and purposely keep all 10 toes anchored into the mat, which means our knees aren't going to go that far. Or you can let them relax. And then our knees go a little farther. We get a little deeper twist. We also get a little more askew in our hips probably. So keeping the toes back here is keeping our knees and hips more in line. Just FYI. All right, from the knee sways, knee folds, right. So we already kind of did the reverse of that. We showed the toe taps in the hundreds. Now you could do knee folds in the hundreds too. Instead of tapping the toe, you could fold the knee up and down. Let's add our quarter roll up. So we're going to bring arms overhead. Exhale. Today for quarter roll up, we're going to reach fingertips towards our knees. Inhale, lower down. I think yesterday or on day 1, we did it with fingertips behind the head. This is just another version. We'll do 2 more. Inhale to prepare. Exhale to curl up. Last time. And then we will go ahead and take our fingertips behind the head, press head into the hands, hands into the head. We see our elbows in our peripheral. Let's fold the left knee, bring across the right shoulder. I'm going to keep my upper body hovering today. Remember our option, we can let it go back to the mat if we start to feel stressed out. This is our crisscross preparation again. Oh, and after all these warm-ups, guess what we get to do? A full set of 100s. So, taking the position that you like best. Here, we had the legs straight on the mat. I'm going to go ahead and take the legs up, heels together, toes apart, just on a teeny tiny angle. Relaxing my knees, making sure they're not locked out. Arms overhead. Exhale. And then we're going to breathe in. Breathe out. 4, 5. Breathe in. Breathe out. 8 more sets. In and out. If you wondered in why it's called the hundreds, in, we're halfway there because you do 100 breaths. We're on 70. If your head and neck are getting tired, lower them down. Last set, in and out. Very good. Hug your knees if they were lifted, or just wherever you are, you can pull your knees in your chest if you like, and just circle those legs around. I'm going to rock the head a little bit back and forth just in case it got a little tense. Shimmy those shoulders. All right, that's the end of our little Pilates session for today. We're going to repeat those tomorrow and tack on a little bit more. Okay, so if you want to grab your journal or workbook page for today, I'm going to talk just real quick a little bit more, because I kind of did in the beginning already, about are you really breathing? So we already talked about that 5-count breath, the coherent breath that helps us get in sync. Our lungs and our heart, maybe like our body and our spirit getting in sync. But I want to point out a few things. Like, do you know, if you've done my challenge before, you already know, but do you know how many breaths approximately one human takes in about 24 hours? I'm going to give you a second to think about it. Think of that. We just did how many? We just did 100 breaths in whatever amount of time there was for the hundreds. But how many times do you breathe? When I do this, teach this live, I usually have people comment in, and we've gotten numbers ranging from like 500 to 2,000 to 12,000. Well, the actual number is around 20,000 breaths. That's just in one 24-hour cycle of breathing. 20,000 times. Again, isn't it marvelous we don't have to consciously think about breathing 20,000 times in a day, because what else would we get done in a day? But at the same time, it can get so on autopilot that when a good conscious deep breath could really help us, we often don't even think about it, right? So just so you know obviously we just saw some of how breath connects to Pilates, but just so you know, I wanted to share something that Joseph Pilates said about breathing. Here's a quote. He says, above all, learn to breathe correctly. So, he invented many exercises and this whole method of the Pilates method and all these machines, exercise equipment, what are they called? The equipment to do Pilates on. But his most important thing, he said, was to learn to breathe correctly. Yesterday, doing the 3-part belly breath, letting our belly relax to really take in more oxygen, that was a part of learning to breathe correctly. Doing this coherent breathing, practicing that is another way to help us breathe more correctly. Things to keep in mind when you're breathing, because a lot of us tend to hold our tummy in throughout the day. We feel like we're using our abs or we're more healthy that way. And maybe it's unconscious. We don't even know. So when you take a minute to do breathing exercises, pay attention. Are you able to relax your belly? Some of us may have tighter shoulders and upper back, especially if you were pregnant recently or even not recently from losing our abdominal muscles, having that extra strain in our lower back, and then maybe breastfeeding or even bottle feeding, we get this, and then when we breathe, we're all constricted and tight, and maybe we breathe more up and down in our shoulders, and we want to breathe and let the ribs breathe laterally again, like we did in the 3-part breath yesterday. So there's some space to make notes on your journal page today. So if you want to number out to the number 12, I'm about to go through 12 benefits of conscious breathing. I'm looking at my notes because I can't remember them all. Some of them we are very familiar with, right? And I'm just going to read them in order so I don't skip any. And I got these just for reference from a book on breath from breath coach Rebecca Dennis. I actually didn't write the name of the book down here, but I can, oh yes I did. It's called And Breathe by Rebecca Dennis. So, number 1, breathing deeply and consciously helps release toxins. And if you didn't know, 70% of our body's toxins are released through our breath. 70%. I don't know if you've ever done a cleanse. I have. I enjoy them. They're good and useful, but 70% of our body's toxins can be released through breath. That's a pretty good number, right? It helps detoxify, kind of connected to number 1 there. It helps strengthen the immune system, and I'm not going to read like extra stats on each one because that would just make our lesson really long, but increases energy, improves respiratory system, it calms our nerves. I think we all realize that one. Strengthens our lymphatic system, which is again connected to calming our nerves. Releases muscle tension. Improves cardiovascular health, of course. Helps the digestive system. It affects our mental state, and I think maybe we're conscious of that as well, right? Dealing with stress, anxiety, depression, breathing deeply and consciously can affect that. And here's a surprise one that I didn't know before I read her book. Breathing deeply and consciously and practicing that regularly can even slow the aging process. Because it increases the secretion of the anti-aging hormones. So, I don't see any negative effects from deeply and consciously breathing. So, Put your little Apple Watch if you have it, or your whatever other watches, the Fitbits, have the little breath reminder throughout the day. Put that on. Let that be your trigger to practice breathing. I want to read just one more little quote. This is from a different article. I've studied a little bit about breath lately. This is from Dr. Richard Brown, who's an associate clinical professor of psychiatry at Columbia University, and he authored a book or co-authored a book called The Healing Power of Breath. And I just thought it was interesting that he says many maladies such as anxiety and depression are aggravated or triggered by stress, which we know this. And he says, I have seen patients transformed by adopting regular breathing practices. And that was it. That's the end of my quote. But that key point there was the regular breathing practices, right? I mean, yes, when we're in like a crazy moment, taking a moment to breathe helps us. But over time, what will help us more importantly is regular breathing practices. So this is why one of the things I want to do is involve a conscious awareness to breath into our Pilates and into our scripture meditation times. So let's finish out today's time with, we're going to return to our scripture verse and just continue sitting in a comfortable position, or you can even lay down. And I'm going to start you off counting. We're going to do the coherent breathing without the arms and all that, though, and without the hundreds. Breathing in for 5 counts, in through the nose if you can, out through your mouth. You can feel your belly rise and fall, or put your hands on your ribs to make sure that you're laterally breathing. And as we do that, I'm going to go back and read the scripture one more time. So, and I'm actually going to put on my breath timer again. So we're going to be still. You can close your eyes if you like. And we're going to start taking a breath in for about 5 counts and then out. And of course, if your counts are a little faster or slower than mine, totally fine. In for 5 and out for 5. And as you keep breathing, going back to Genesis 2, just verse 7, God formed man out of the dirt from the ground and blew into his nostrils the breath of life. The man came alive, a living soul. In for 5 and out for 5. Continue until we hit the 1 minute mark. Think of breathing in life from God, a living soul. And there we are. And there was your 1 minute of conscious breathing for today. You're done for the day on that end, and I will see you for day 3. Ooh, homework. Oh, your homework is to either practice the hundreds with the 3 different breath patterns, breathing in and out and in, then holding your breath, or just tell me in the group which way helps you the best and which way was the hardest. And I think that's your homework. So I'll see you next time.